Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Greater Miami Expressway Agency Board meeting. I'd like to call our meeting to order at 9:03 a.m. I will ask our board member pages to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. You may be seated. Today is a very special moment for GMX, as in a few moments we will consider the first budget and work program as GMX. This is another monumental step as we begin to close out transitioning from our predecessor agency. I hope today sends a clear message that GMX is stable and moving forward with a clear plan, a clear vision, and a strong governing board. Now I'll ask our corporate board secretary to conduct a roll call of board members.
Good morning. Chair Cancio. Vice Chair Perez.
Present.
Treasurer Pages. Secretary Blanco.
Present.
Secretary Miller.
Present.
We have a complete.
Thank you. Next, we have declaration of voting conflicts. Board members, at this time, please advise if you have any conflicts based on the items in the consent agenda or regular agenda.
I have a conflict for item 9B and 9C of the agenda.
Anything else? Now let's move to our public comment period for the agenda items. If a member of the public wishes to address the board, you will be given 3 minutes to speak. I will recognize Mr. Alston, identify those who have signed up to speak. Mr. Alston, you're recognized.
Sorry, yes. Good morning. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. At this time, we have no one that has signed up to speak, but if there's any member of the public that wishes to speak at this moment, please come forward. Please come forward. Please come forward. Seeing none, back to you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next is approval of our meeting minutes from the March meeting. Board members, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes. Is there any discussion or is there a motion for approval?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, I'll say, wait, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we're on the consent agenda. I will now ask our general counsel to read the consent items into the record.
Administrative consent item is travel approval from the June. The administrative item is travel approval from the June, September 11, 2024, Baltimore, Maryland travel approval for interim director Alston to attend the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association Finance and Road Usage Charging Summit.
Board members, you've heard the consent agenda, and now is the time to advise the chair if you have any items you'd like to pull from the consent agenda. Okay, so we'll take a vote. Sorry. Is there a motion for approval?
Move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Now we will move to our public hearing. I'd like to formally open our public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget and 5-year work program by GMX. First, I will have interim executive director to make some initial opening remarks. Then we will hear from the management team presenting different components of the budget. And then we will open for public comments on the budget. Following these public comments, I will turn to the board for any discussions or questions for the staff. So let's begin. Mr. Torrey, you're recognized.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. Hopefully you can hear me okay. On behalf of the GMX staff, I am delighted to kick off the inaugural GMX budget and work program presentation. As you know, Madam Vice Chair, as the presiding officer, all board members have received the detailed budget, as you know, with your detailed schedules. You also have a program book in front of you that I think raises the bar and demonstrates the level of excellence for GMX. We've conducted several budget briefings, as you know. We've conducted 2 with each of you individually, which was truly valuable to us and our team. And of course, we posted the full budget online. It's been posted now for about 2 weeks as I'm looking at our CFO. What I'd like to do up front, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, is to commend the team for their hard work and due diligence these last several weeks and months, because as you know, this process began back in December with your direction to us to identify 4 core strategic priorities for the agency as we think through a new vision, a new mission, and new path forward for the agency. I think today's presentation that you will see will demonstrate that clear vision, fiscal prudence, but also sound maintenance of our operations. And again, I think this will send a very clear signal to our toll payers, to our employees, the industry, and bondholders that GMX is stable, is thriving, and moving forward. So based on your direction, as you see on the next slide, let me catch up. These are the 4 core areas that we will focus on that will serve as the baseline for this budget and work program: safety, system improvements and preservation, mobility improvements and congestion relief, and the new added focus around transportation technology. And I do want to thank Board Member Blanco. I know this is also critically important for you. You've been very helpful to the team, providing some guidance to us in this area. I'll now move to highlight a few highlights up front of the budget. First, let me start. There are no recommended toll increases. We have received guidance from our T&R consultant on projected traffic growth, and I know that our CFO momentarily will speak to some additional revenue in the budget process. I do want to thank CDM Smith, who's been a great partner with us initially as we put most of this information together. The recommended budget before you also shifts core services in-house. I know this is a balancing act, and I know Board Member Miller, District Secretary Miller, has also been very prudent in this area because it's very important for us as an agency to focus on our core functions and focus on what we are good at. And I know our CFO will speak to this momentarily. The recommended budget also enhances existing services and adds new services. One new service that you will see in the recommended budget is our new operational service area, which includes Monroe County. And our director will speak to that. Claudia will get into some detail and share some recent information, as I know that he's already viewed the coverage area from an aerial view. The budget also maintains service excellence and a commitment to safety. I know, Madam Vice Chair, aesthetics is important to you. You'll see members of the board that throughout this recommended budget, aesthetics is one of the core tenets of what is before you, and want to speak to the work program, current projects, and projects that are on the horizon. We are compliant with our trust indenture as we delivered an initial budget back on April 20th to our trustee. Madam CFO can also confirm that we are compliant to the board and the public. And lastly, based on conservative budgeting, this recommended budget aims to maintain and improve our bond ratings. I know we all were thrilled with Fitch's outside assessment of the agency. I think it spoke to your sound governance as a board, fiscal stability, and overall solid operations. And Madam Chair, you have been very keen in this area, wanting to see us return as an industry leader as the toll agency here in South Florida. So with that, I just wanted to provide these initial highlights up front, and I will now ask our CFO, followed by our Director of Transportation, Technology, and Toll Operations, and then our Director of Engineering and Emergency Management in that order, Madam Chair and Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Alston. Good morning, board members. So the components of the budget is revenue, operating expenses, debt service, and capital expenditures, and we're going to go through each of those categories. So FY25's annual budget summary, total forecasted revenue is $268.9 million, operating expenses is $67.3 million, contingency of $2 million, capital expenditures of $101.6 million, debt service of $119.9 million, total expenses and capital expenditures is $290.8 million, which is the total authorization of spending request that is before the board today. Revenue and operating expenses. Our revenue forecast is $268.9 million, and it's made up of 4 separate revenue streams: toll revenue, fee revenue, investment, and other revenue. Gross toll revenue is $250.4 million. less a $6 million allowance for potential customer discount program in the latter half of FY '25, as well as any impacts of suspension of tolls due to hurricane or any other type of weather events, which totals $244.4 million, or an increase of $4.1 million from the prior year. The increase is mainly due to a slight increase in overall traffic, as well as some operational improvements that was factored into the TNR model. The forecast also assumes that 68% of the revenue will be generated by our SunPass or our transponder customer base, and about 588 million transactions will be processed next year. As Mr. Alston indicated, I think it's important to note that the toll revenue does not include any toll rate adjustments or consumer price indexing, referred to as CPI. So the toll rates have remained the same as prior year. Fee revenue is $12.5 million, a slight decrease of $800,000 from prior year. Fee revenue is generated from our toll-by-plate customers, our video billing customers, and late fees. Investment and other is $12 million, of which $11.5 million is generated from our interest income on funds on hand, and $500,000 for leasing of parcels. Overall forecasted revenues, again, is $268.9 million. The proposed operating expenses, $69.3 million, which includes the contingency. We have toll and ITS operation at $35.6 million, an increase of $2.5 million, which is mainly due to an increase of the pass-through of the state centralized customer service system. We refer to it as the CCSS back office. And that was generated by the transition of a new call center, as well as increased billings for next year. Additional increases, we have additional services and enhanced services for next year in toll and ITS, which Claudio will go over a little bit later in the presentation. And those increases were offset by a shift, as Mr. Alston indicated, from core services that were performed by consultants that now are shifting in-house to permanent positions. Roadway operation is $7.6 million, an increase of $200,000, which is mainly due to service patrol, additional service patrol man and vehicles during peak hours. And that increase was offset by, again, a shift in our core services from our consultants to in-house permanent positions. Maintenance is $11.9 million, a decrease of $400,000. And the decrease was mainly due to the clearing of a backlog of maintenances, services that we had, which was generated due to the fact that we had an asset maintenance contract that defaulted, and we had to re-procure to several new contracts. And unfortunately, there's a ramp-up period, and that created the backlog. And again, we also had a decrease in our maintenance due to the shifting, again, of our consulting services to in-house positions. Our public communications is $1.6 million. That budget did not increase from the prior year. What is included in that budget are several safety initiatives that I believe Claudia will speak to later on as well. Professional services is $3.5 million, a decrease of $100,000, and the decrease is due to the fact that there were several projects and initiatives that were completed in FY '24 that are not included in FY '25's budget. Headquarters and facilities and administration is $7.1 million. It's a $500,000 increase, and the increase is mainly due to the shifting, again, of core services in-house to salary, tax, and benefits. We also have new services for security to the headquarters building, and an increase to our insurance premium, and also additional recruitment cost. So that is the increase of the $500,000. Contingency is $2 million, and it decreased by $500,000, and the $2 million budget is more in keeping to our historical trend. Overall, the operating expenses is $69.3 million, or an increase of $2.2 million. Our debt service is $119.9 million, which provides for all the interest and principal for 7 outstanding bond series. Interest is paid on a semi-annual basis, with the exception of bond series 2005, which is paid monthly, which is our variable rate debt. All of the debt principal payments is paid July 1st. Our debt service budget does not assume any additional debt or any refunding opportunities. So this is just for the current outstanding debt. FY25 capital expenditures is $101.6 million, which is made up of 2 components. It's non-project capital of $585,000 for headquarter improvements and headquarter technology projects. These are non-roadway type projects. As well as it's the first year of the 5-year work program, $101 million for the first year. The total 5-year work program is $434 million, and the total project cost is $918 million. The 5-year work program will be funded by net revenues and general reserves from each of the respective years. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Claudio to kind of highlight some of the new and enhanced services for FY25.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. So these are the existing services in the operating expenses that we will continue on and have been operating currently. So the 24/7, so the round-the-clock road ranger service and patrols, which aids drivers in case of an emergency or disabled vehicles. The Traffic Management Center, which is co-located with FDOT District 6, and that's for the dispatching of all the road rangers or rapid incident scene clearance that we have on the roadway. We also have the maintenance of the system-wide intelligent transportation systems. So that includes all our dynamic messaging signs, our cameras, our MVDS detectors, which give you travel speed. So basically all the ITS devices that we have in the field. Furthermore, the maintenance and roadway facilities, so this is everything for the maintenance of our, not only headquarters, but all of our tolling plazas and our any building that we have, including the roadway. So that includes sweeping, mowing, litter pickup, basically all the services to maintain our roadways, including bridges. The toll transaction processing, this is for our toll systems integrator. This is for the maintenance of the in-lane equipment to maintain all the system operating, functioning correctly and properly. The public communication campaign, this also includes all the alerts that we have for any initiatives that we may have and project updates, and also traffic alerts to the general public. And as mentioned, the CCSS back office. This is basically how we process all of our transactions, the payment of all the toll operations. Some of the new services that we're introducing and new initiatives is the Public Communication Safety Awareness Campaign. Our executive director, in coordination with other agencies around the state, are going to have a unified campaign for safety. So this is a new service that we will be providing. As Marie mentioned, there's going to be increased peak hour service for our service patrol. So it's increased not just generically, but targeted, so we can assist motorists in a timely manner. Toll infrastructure preservation, these are new initiatives that we've introduced. These are just general maintenance items that just need updating and upgrading, and which will protect our toll infrastructure. Repair of some safety equipment, such as speed feedback signs that we need to replace and repair, with also the installation of some new ones at key locations, high crash locations. Safety of our roadway assets, so this includes power and communications. Over time, some of the fiber markers get knocked down, and those are very important because our fibers are kind of our backbone that communicates all of our toll plazas to headquarters. So that's very imperative for us to maintain in a proper fashion. We have an in-house small business and community engagement, which is also new, and the employee relations training. As you are aware, we've hired a new HR department and generalist, and these are some of the key services that will be included in that. The system-wide wrong-way signing program. This is a maintenance and continuation of the program that we are currently implementing. We just completed a new installation of 25 new signs, and this will be maintenance of those plus the existing signs that we have currently on the system. The system-wide signage maintenance program, This is not only this is the maintenance of all the guideway signs on our highway. Some over time start fading, and the reflectivity overnight start fading as well. So this is just the maintenance and replacement of a lot of the signage that has just come to end of life cycle. And lastly is the monitoring assessment of the Monroe County jurisdiction of our County Road 94. As our executive director mentioned, I got a chance to see it overhead, but we will be taking steps now to include it into our maintenance program. We're going to be taking a field trip pretty soon, and we're going to understand the needs of the roadway and how we can address them moving forward. And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Toledo for the work program.
Good morning, board members. Claudio was a little modest. He's a pilot, which is why he was able to see it overhead. So he's our most interesting man in the world here. So the 2025-29 work program consists of 42 projects. You can see that over 80% of the projects are currently in design, build, and construction. That's really two of our major projects that are going on right now. We're going to be advancing new projects through final design and PD&E planning, and I'll touch on those in a little bit, but you can see that the intent of the program is to create jobs, give back to local small businesses, enhance safety and system preservation, and obviously improve mobility. Again, the core focus on this work program was complete the ongoing projects and keep advancing what we're doing. Advancing long-range projects that we've had sitting for a while. So State Road 112 ramp improvements at 874 and Sunset Drive, the 924 extension project that ties to the Turnpike at the west, and then we're looking at an interchange project at 924 and 67th Avenue. The intent here is to provide network congestion relief. It's not just about our roads, but how we touch down and what the impacts are to the community around it. And then enhancing our system. Moving forward, our renewal and replacement program, we're at a point where in the life cycle of our assets where we have to start renewing and updating our assets. So you'll see a heavy lift on R&R projects in this work program. And then we're also going to be incorporating technology projects for safety and operations. Major projects in construction, the biggest one is the 836 I-95 interchange. Our portion of the work is everything west of I-95, which includes the double decking of 836 over the Miami River. You can see some other pictures here, but this is a project that we are coordinating with the Florida Department of Transportation. They're actually the lead on this project. And, we have our contract with the CJV separate, but we work together to initiate this project. One of the things that we are doing now, as from a request from our board members and due to the unfortunate incidents that occurred about a month and a half ago in Baltimore, we have reached out to the CJV, the contractors. We have been able to accelerate the work for the fender system. We met with them a few weeks ago. We looked at the schedule, where they were going to be 2.5 years away from doing that fender work. They've actually agreed to start that work now. So we are in design of the fender currently. The initial schedule that they've given us is to be able to be complete with the fender replacement by end of summer of next year. So we've actually accelerated that work by 2 years. The 836 new ramp connections with the Turnpike, that project is about 95% complete. We're anticipating to be open or to start opening to traffic towards the end of this month or early June. The project should be totally complete by the end of summer. This is a project that's going to introduce new connections to the 836 west extension towards 137th Avenue. These are connections that don't exist today. So it's really providing more options to our commuters, but it's also going to relieve the traffic that exits today at Northwest 12th and Northwest 8th Street, which is the only way to access west from the Turnpike. So again, this is a network of congestion relief options. The Kendall Parkway. The Kendall Parkway is going to continue to move forward. We're going in this work program. What we funded is the continuing coordination with the environmental permitting agencies. We're also going to be advancing the geotechnical investigation component of the project. So what we want to do here is we want to get out there and we want to see what's underground. We want to, that's where most of the costs and most of the risks on a project like this are. So we want to understand that so that we can narrow down those costs and try to be closer to where we want to be when we go out and try to get the funding that we need to move forward. And that way, when we do go out and we start getting prices for construction, those any deviations are, you know, the percentages are much less than what we're experiencing today because of the cost increases that we've experienced statewide and nationwide. We're also advancing the final design of the 836 widening between 107th Avenue and 97th Avenue. That's a project actually on the agenda, on the regular agenda, and we'll speak to that a little bit later on. But we're also completing the design of 137th Avenue between 8th Street and Coral Way. That's a project that will be going to advertising in the fall, and we hope to be able to award that to a contractor before the end of the year. Oh, okay.
So again, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, we're excited to present this inaugural GMX budget for the board's consideration. We believe the budget is sound. It meets your board policy. It meets the trust indenture. It maintains our service levels of excellence, and it also keeps our eye on the ball of improving our bond rating. So with that, we'll turn things back over to you. And again, thank you to the team who did a phenomenal job, all the employees and outside consultants who assisted as well. Thank you.
And piggybacking on that, thank you for a great presentation to all the staff. Now we'll open the floor for public comments on the budget and work program. If a member of the public would like to speak, please come forward. The public comment period on the budget and work program is now closed. More board members, do you have any questions or feedbacks on the budget, or is there a motion for approval of the item? Board member Pages.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me start with one of my top priorities, which is the safety of the Miami River portion. I appreciate that acceleration. Are we still going to look at possible interagency, intergovernmental discussions as far as the transportation or the transit of large ships underneath the river?
Yes, and I apologize, I didn't mention that, but we are, I'm actually working with my team right now. I'm getting, we meet routinely with the stakeholders along the river, and there's been a lot of discussions in the past on the operations. So I'm getting up to speed on everything that's been discussed in the past. I'm beginning to draft a letter to the stakeholders to request that we look at more stringent regulations for vessels navigating through that portion of the river. And what we're hoping is that vessels that exceed a certain tonnage or length can be towed through that area of the bridge so that we preserve the safety of the structure.
Excellent, thank you. My second question relates to the fee revenue on the budget. I see that the fee revenue is actually reduced in 2025, fiscal year 2025, which we had a discussion in our briefings. But it's my understanding that there's been some movement as far as the toll by plate registration hold process. That's not being built into this budget. I just want to make sure it's clear to the public what we're doing in that regard.
So the fee revenue is based upon the first billing and a late invoice, so that's how the fee revenue is generated. I think what you're referring to is the escalation to collections on the actual toll itself. So we did factor in the traffic revenue model, the collection rate, in the toll revenue, the net toll revenue, so that is factored into the model.
Okay.
Madam Vice Chair, if I could.
Go ahead.
And just to help respond to Board Member Pages, and we were going to include this in our IBTTA update because a piece of this we just did a while away. If you're okay, Board Member Pages, I think our director has some additional information.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, actually, the IBTTA conference was actually a great conference because it gives us a chance to meet not only with vendors, but it also gives us a chance to meet with other agencies. As part of our discussions there, we had a meeting with the Turnpike, and they did confirm that they they're in the works to implement the registration holds once again. Most likely it won't come in until the end of summer, but yes, it's in the works to potentially reintroduce the registration holds, which will aid quite significantly in our collections.
You're, not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot. Yeah, the impact to our budget 2026, I guess, would be, by the time it all kind of flows through, you estimate would be what?
I'll let Marie give you the numbers. I can tell you that our collection rate when registration holds were in place were roughly 72%.
Right.
Right now we're currently at 45%.
Right.
So the biggest tool in our toolbox is the registration holds.
Right.
So Claudio's correct. So the current collection rate is 45% for toll by plate, and then we'll reevaluate the traffic and revenue model next year for fiscal year 26 once we see that the registration holds, there's an improvement in collections.
Very good. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Board Member Miller.
I just want to clarify. I'm not sure that we've put a timeline yet on when registration hold is going to occur. So I don't want us to jump the gun because I don't know that DOT has finalized that aspect of
Right.
that element of toll collection. So bear with us while we work through that process, please. It was just a clarifier. I just wanted to say thank you to the team. I appreciate you all dealing with all my questions and my comments and making sure that we start off on our best foot, which I really feel like this is a great opportunity for us to recommit to the community and really provide that which we're mandated to do. With that, I know that the largest project and we haven't really talked about it, but the largest project in our work program is really re-kicking off Kendall Parkway and making sure that it's important that we do all that prep work, that we complete any necessary documentation associated with the project development and environmental studies, that there's still a bit of that needs to happen, geotechnical work, updated traffic. And from my perspective, and I think from all of our perspectives, is truly understanding what the project cost will be. And having an independent project cost is going to be imperative. We are working with numbers that are so outdated and not reflective of our current economy that I think that we just don't have sufficient information to start having legitimate conversations about how we can break the project up, how we can move forward with actually getting towards next phases where we're seeing more production pipeline. So I'm very excited about those elements that are in the program, and I think it shows our commitment to pushing the project forward. I do think it's important that we be mindful as we're looking at this. One of my questions is the way we show the work program, and it's really what our expenditures are planned for, as opposed to programming, which is a different way of handling it. So there are a lot of projects that are active and ongoing in this work program that, should we have to make decisions in the future, are sort of off the table for making adjustments to. So I have asked for some assistance to help us with that, sort of some color coding to know that this is an active ongoing contract or active and ongoing phase, to make sure that we don't impact that should we have to make decisions in our future about shifts in our work program. So, but thank you to the team.
Executive
Madam
Austin.
Vice Chair, and I apologize, and you are absolutely correct, Board Member Miller. And I know that our director was going to add some additional comments just around the work program and the color coding. If you don't mind, Madam Vice Chair, if we could ask Juan just to elaborate. Sure.
Well, no, to Board Member Miller's request, we're going to be going back to the work program that's published currently. We're going to color code some of those cells to show what are the dollars that are currently committed, active projects, committed dollars. What are projects that, and what are the projects that are coming in the future? Because we agree that for your benefit, since you are approving and we're going to be bringing these updates periodically, you know which are the dollars that are committed, which are the monies that you can move around, and that way, when we approve a work program, you are 100% comfortable with the decisions that are being made at the days.
I have one quick question on the. I saw that there's only 68% of the average customer usage of transponders. Does that does it help for us to make it part of our public campaign to use it? Like, it's a,
Yes,
I don't know.
yes, but this is it's not just a localized problem to GMX. As part of the discussions we've had, we've confirmed with other agencies and our team, we've met with all the others, and we're all seeing the same kind of trend and roughly the same numbers. And yes, we agree 100%. We've already been discussing it. We are putting together an awareness plan. We're going to be targeting certain specific areas like colleges and things like that. We're going to be giving away transponders. But one of the things that we want to do, for example, is to not only just give them away, but sign them up on the spot. That way, it's more of an impact. Because one thing is just to give a transponder; you never know if they're going to put it on. But kind of a campaign to make sure people are aware that they'll benefit from the discounts, not only from any sort of discount that the state implements, but from the actual toll rate itself. So yes, there's going to be a targeted campaign to distribute and have events specifically in an effort to raise our penetration rate in terms of our transponders.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So
I just have a follow-up to
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Are we doing that in conjunction with the SunPass team, or is it a separate initiative?
Yeah, we had the discussion, and I with DTA, we wanted together. Obviously, we use the same SunPass, so yeah, we want to do it together with the state.
Excellent.
teamwork. Any final discussion, board members? Nope. All right, then we'll vote on the item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need a motion first?
Oh, sorry, motion approved.
I make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we move to the regular agenda. The first item is GMX procurement contract number 18-02- toll collection system, equipment installation, maintenance, and support services. I will recognize Mr. Alston to introduce the item.
Sure, and I'll be quick. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And this item adds additional capacity for maintenance services. I know that we've had the opportunity to share with each of you individually. I'll ask our Director of Toll Operations and Transportation Technology just to give a brief highlight of the item.
Yes, so this item is to increase the capacity to cover the maintenance services and strictly the maintenance services for the remainder of the current agreement duration. We entered into a cooperative purchase agreement with our toll integration provider in 2018, and that contract was up to 10 years. We are currently on year 6 of the 10. However, in terms of contract capacity will run out in very early 2026, approximately in August of fiscal year 2026. So this request is to just increase the contract capacity to take them up to the 10-year contract duration. And this, as you can see in the fiscal impact, these maintenance services will be funded annually, and the board will get a chance to approve through the operations budget on a yearly basis.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the item? Or is there a motion?
I just have a question.
Board Member Miller?
Thank you. So these are, when we talked about this, I neglected to ask the question. These are already included in the work program that we just passed.
The funds for this is through the operations budget, not through work.
Not through the work program budget,
Correct.
through the which is an annual budget.
Correct.
So we've just included what was already available for fiscal year 25, as we believe that we have funding sufficient through 26.
Correct. The
somewhere.
operations budget includes this next upcoming fiscal year.
Right.
But the contract capacity will run out.
Correct. So we're
just
just
after
talking about the budgetary ceiling for the contract.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
I do have a question. So this may change on a year-to-year basis, the amount?
So the amounts are based on traffic, annual average daily traffic. So we do projections. So we've done a projection based on the contract has a 1% escalation built into the contract, and then the AEDT, we project a certain increase based on traffic.
Okay.
So we've accounted for those increases to take us up to the 10-year mark.
So
So yes,
Forgive-
the cost technically increase slightly every year.
every year, we expect it to not exceed that amount that's,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, this also includes a small amount. Well, small amount. There's $200,000 for force majeure events. So if we have any sort of incident in terms of a hurricane or
Right.
lightning strike or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any final discussion? Okay, motion. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the regular agenda is GMX procurement contract number RFQ. Number RFQ -24-01, design engineering services for State Road 878 LED lighting conversion. I will now recognize Mr. Alston to introduce the item.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Vice Chair. This is recommended for a contract with HBC Engineering. This item did come before you previously, but I will let our director provide some additional background on the item.
Yes, good morning again. So this item is for the negotiated contract with HBC Engineering. As our executive director mentioned, this was awarded at the last board meeting, but it was awarded with a not to exceed dollar amount of $700,000. During the negotiations, there were a couple of items that drove the negotiations to go a little bit higher. One of them was geotechnical exploration for the lighting foundations, and this was mainly due to revised geotechnical design standards that increased the amount of borings and so forth that we need to do. And then there was also some specialty structural design work on the existing bridges on 878 for some of the new lighting pedestals. So when you take that into account, the negotiation increased by $99,855, and that's what we're presenting in front of you today for approval, is the additional $900,000 and change to be able to execute the contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff on this item? Is there a motion for approval?
Move item 9B.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the regular agenda is GMX procurement contract number RFQ 24-02, design engineering services for the widening of eastbound State Road 836. I would again recognize Mr. Alston to introduce the item.
Thank you again, Madam Vice Chair. This is a recommended approval based on the TEC's recommendation. Again, I'll ask Mr. Toledo to provide some additional background on the item.
This is for the design services for the widening of 836 between the Turnpike and approximately just west of 87th Avenue. This project will add one lane in each direction, east and west, and it will improve the bottlenecks that are currently there, relieving some of the lane reductions and introducing lane balance with the new connections that were introduced by the Turnpike as part of their widening project. This project was advertised in January. We had 6 proposals submit. The Technical Evaluation Committee met late April before this meeting, and we evaluated all the proposals. BCC Engineering was the highest ranked firm, and the Tech Committee recommended approval of the contract to BCC for the not to exceed amount of $2,300,000. This is a revision from the original agenda that went out, and this is a result of when this project was first advertised. The $1.5 million fee was based on the current work program at the time. Since we also started putting together the work program for the 25-29, we revised all of our cost estimates. So the 2.3 is more in line with the current construction estimates, and it's within the industry standard of 8 to 10% of the construction cost. So the project is estimated at about $28 million. 2.3 million is about 8% of that, and we feel comfortable that we will negotiate within this cap.
Board members, are any questions for staff on this item?
It's more general than that, but yes.
Board Member Miller.
So I am glad that we have updated. Obviously, we're going to do everything we can to negotiate in good faith with the firm and hopefully be within the 8%, which is pretty standard. I do want to make sure, and I know this is a future policy that we're going to be discussing regarding DBI, SBI, DBE,
Yes.
et cetera, and we want to make sure we're compliant as a state agency, that we are not including things that we shouldn't be including and are including things that we should be including. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the regular agenda is board policy review of the aesthetic enhancement policy, a follow-up from the last board meeting. And again, recognize Executive Director Alston to introduce the item.
Thank you, Vice Chair, members of the board. This is now, I think, round 3 of our board policies, which is absolutely phenomenal, going policy by policy for all of the initial policies that you approved back in September of last year. As you recall at the last meeting, we needed to do some additional due diligence. We've done that. Actually, let me not steal Juan's thunder. Juan will go ahead and provide another quick overview and also highlight the collaboration, of course, with our other transportation partners.
Thank you, Tori. Yes, so at the last board meeting, we brought forth the engineering policies, and the aesthetic enhancements policy was deferred for further coordination with our DOT partners. We went through several rounds of comments and responses, and I'm happy to say that we reviewed, responded, and incorporated all the comments to the aesthetic enhancements policy, and that's what we are bringing forth today. And again, as the executive director mentioned, it was a very healthy discussion with our DOT partners.
Thank you for saying it so nicely.
Are there any additional questions for staff?
I just have one.
Go ahead, board member.
We went with manual, not guidelines. We went back and forth, and we chose manual.
I believe we chose guidelines.
It's manual.
Let me. Did I? No. No, it says manual.
That's what I'm saying. It says manual. The last time we talked, it was guidelines. Now it went to manual.
Okay, that was, we will clean it up, but it is guidelines.
Okay,
It will
just
be
checking.
guidelines. We will make sure that we post the correct version.
All right, because we talked last about guidelines.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And that must have been that I must have accidentally rejected the changes. My
Okay.
bad.
So if it's
Any
guidelines,
final
I'm
It will be
discussion?
guidelines.
Okay,
It will be
On the
guidelines.
find and replace on this document. So.
excellent. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any final discussion? Any, all in favor saying?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
I just want to clarify, is your motion approval with the stated changes?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we move to reports. Our first report is the interim executive director's report. And since the full report has been shared, I'd like to recognize Mr. Alston to provide any additional highlights for the board and public.
Sure. Thank you again, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. You do have the full report, so I'm going to jump to a few lighthearted items. So I'm going to actually ask that we go all the way to the Take Your Child to Work Day page, because we were delighted to welcome our future superstars to the building just a few weeks ago. The team did a phenomenal job. We actually got a series of tough questions. What was our favorite color? What was our favorite subject while we were in school? But no, I do want to highlight the team that did a phenomenal job, HR and so many others that welcomed these little ones from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. We had a full day of activities. They were engaged and just wanted you and the public to know these are the types of initiatives that GMX is engaged in regularly, and I know that you and the board are fully aware. We'll go to the next slide. So I think you are fully updated on IBTTA, but I did, Madam Vice Chair, which was perfectly timed, wanted the team to also give a very comprehensive update from our time away. As you can tell, not only did you allowed me to attend the summit, but we also had 4 others from the agency attend. So if you're okay, I'd like for both directors, both Claudio and Juan, to give a mini update to the board and the public. To one, talk about collaboration, some of the conversations that I know we all had with various partners, which I think would be enlightening to the board. And I think Claudio will highlight the pin that I'm wearing as well.
I was about to ask about that. Claudio or Juan?
I'll start real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So the IBTTA technology meeting was a very good meeting. It's always one of the most higher attended conferences for IBTTA. This year, the focus was around AI, artificial intelligence, and transportation, and what is that going to look like in the future. I think it's safe to say that we're not that evolved into AI yet, thank God, for transportation, but it is something that is going to be coming in. Primarily what we're going to be looking at is how data is interpreted through AI and how that can help us assess the conditions of the roadway, traffic prediction, and that'll help us really predict and model how we want to manage and keep enhancing our operations in the future. So I think it's the evolution of AI and transportation is going to look pretty good as far as, you know, how we can continue to provide mobility solutions. One of the things that I was able to see, and it wasn't really technology related, but it was more, I would have, they had a session on Tuesday morning it was a Shark Tank kind of session, and vendors were able to bring in their latest products and kind of, you know, they did it in a nice little comical way. But a product that we saw that we want to explore is on fitting your emergency vehicles, your basically your roadway assist vehicles with these plow-looking devices in the front that help you remove debris a lot more fluidly and safely out of the way of traffic and into the shoulder so that someone can pick it up later. I think it's going to, that type of innovation is going to help us respond to any lane incidents or anything that's going to be disruptive to traffic in a much more efficient manner. So that's something that we saw. It's something that we really caught our eye. So we're going to be exploring that and see how we can incorporate that into our existing road ranger contracts and hopefully see a lot of benefits from that with our commuters. So at least those were my takeaways, and I'll turn it over to Claudio.
Yeah, this conference in particular is of great interest to me and the team. Also, Danny, who's present, and Wadi, who oversee our lane side and our back side of the tolling operations. This is a very good summit because it had basically all the toll integrators that are there present, and you can see all the technology that they're all working on. So things like, for example, loopless tolling, which would be a huge benefit to the agency. But it gives us a chance to not only just meet with them and see their products, but to set up subsequent meetings. And so we have set up a series of subsequent meetings where they'll be coming here to give us a demonstration or a presentation more of their systems. Like mentioned before, we also got a chance to meet with other agencies and not only just in the conference, but you know, when you have breaks, you start making contacts that are very beneficial in the future. We met with several other agencies that are getting ready, if not are currently in the process of reprocuring their toll integrators, and those are very much of interest to us because obviously as you just approved, our contract will expire in 3 years, in 28. And we'll have to make a decision whether we stay with the current system or move on to a new system. But we're kind of at the cusp in terms of technology of transitioning to loopless. And so there's some agencies staying traditional with loops in the ground. Some are going to new integrators. But again, this is a great opportunity for us to have these discussions with other agencies and keep those contacts. So when they go through the procurement, we can obtain those procurement documents, and then it'll help us prepare our documents in the future once we get ready to do it. Like I said, we had very fruitful discussion with the Turnpike on what they're doing, some of the modernization that they're doing, and obviously some of the issues that they're having. So we have another follow-up also with the Turnpike to discuss things like penetration and SunPass and things like that. So, and this conference leads to our executive director's pin, and that is a representation of the annual meeting, which will be held October 26th through the 28th in Cleveland, Ohio. So that's it lights up. He doesn't have it on right now, but
It's not working. Yeah, so with that, Vice Chair, and the last thing I'll add with IBTT, and thank you for both of those updates, is at least from my seat, there was a lot of conversation around the very public transition that this agency has gone through. So I think it was very good for other toll leaders and the industry to actually see a strong presence from the agency. So I want you to know that everyone is watching, and based on your leadership today, having approved the agency's first budget and work program, again, I think that sends a very clear signal to the industry and to the market. The last point I'll make on the next slide, you are very familiar with the county correspondence. Of course, we continue to have key meetings with key stakeholders. I think I also mentioned to each of you, I meet regularly with other toll agency heads. We do that on a monthly basis with THEA, CFX, and the Florida Turnpike Enterprise. So those conversations are very helpful, similar to the updates that both Claudio and Juan provided you, the board. And then the last slide is kind of forecasting what's to come. And Board Member Miller, you were spot on. So the next round of policy reviews that we're going to bring, which is the finance and procurement policies, that will include the small business policy and the procedures. So we'll be ready to tee up that conversation for you at the July meeting. And then, of course, we will continue our ride-alongs. And I do want to highlight Madam Vice Chair is wearing the shirt, and I know that others on the board have the shirts. We were planning to give those out on the ride along, so I apologize for the other members. That was our intent. So with that, Vice Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Director Alston. And definitely, I know everyone's busy, but it certainly makes sense to go. It really just helps digest a lot of what we're always, or what we've been looking at. So is there a motion to accept the interim executive director's report and provide the authority requested by the interim executive director?
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Next on the agenda are informational items. The procurement report has been provided to the board with updated contract, executed not open procurements, and requires no action today. Are there any questions on the procurement report? Moving on to announcements. Our next regular board meeting is July 11th, 2024 at 9 a.m. As a reminder, the Executive Search Committee will meet following this meeting. Also, I'm told we may have a special board meeting coming up in a few weeks. And our board secretary may be reaching out after today for board members. Board members, are there any questions, announcements, staff direction, or final comments before we adjourn?
I just
Board
have one
member
final
Miller.
comment. I'm glad that at IBTTA you were starting to talk about AI. I think it's important that we contemplate an AI policy and how we want to move forward. So it's just something, I know we're just dipping our toe in the water for this, but we have to start somewhere. And if we don't start now, at least with a broader policy, I think we'll end up behind the times. So just a suggestion. And I love the catcher on the front. We just make sure we don't rip off all our RPMs. That's all I'm asking.
And I wanted to thank the Vice Chair for running the meeting today. It was an excellent meeting. Sometimes we don't ask questions here is because we spend a lot of time discussing everything that we talked about here. But it was a very good presentations. And I wanted to thank Board Member Miller for being on the front of revising our guidelines. So I appreciate that. And also, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Hearing no additional comments, I adjourn this meeting at 10:02 a.m. Thank you, board members, and happy Mother's Day to everyone. The meeting is adjourned. We're not happy Mother's Day to you.